So, good evening, everyone. We at Spartificial believe in empowering the youth by helping them acquire skills in all the aspects. And today, we have collaborated with Mr. Indranil Roy to talk about building leadership qualities among the students. He is presently working as a faculty of Aerospace Engineering Department under Jain University, and he's working on the Quintuple Life project, which is an effort to bring out the best in people. He has mentored over 100 students and helped them become leaders in their respective industry. So let's welcome him and listen to what he has to say. Over to you, sir.
Okay, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are. Is he audible to everyone else? Folks?
Yeah, he's audible.
Okay, great.
Yeah, thank you so much. I apologize for the initial glitch from my end. So I'll just present the screen. Can everyone see this?
Yeah.
Is
Yes,
it?
now we can say it.
It's visible, right?
Right, yeah.
Fine. Oh. So before we start, I've been initially experiencing some glitches in the network as well as connecting, and there is only some certain things that we can control, right? So anyways, that being said, let us start off the session. I'm truly excited to be a part of this. Hello, everyone. I hope all of you are doing well. Thank you all for participating on this talk about building leadership qualities among students. I presume that most of you are looking to excel in your life and the situation you are in. And so I believe that this presentation will certainly help you to look at life with a different perspective, right? The perspective of a leader. Okay, so I am Indranil Roy, a professor in Aerospace, a speaker, and also an initiator of the Quintessential Life project, which has garnered quite a bit of a following in the last couple of years and aims to help people to be the best version of themselves. So now let us talk about why we need leadership. So according to the study conducted by Angela Gordon and Gary Yule from the University of Albany around 2004, it was found out that despite countless studies conducted on leadership, there were still some shortcomings in implementing such studies to improve organizational performances. Some causes that they both thought to be the reason for the slow progress is that probably majority of the leadership studies or theories predicted the outcome rather than focusing on the processes. And also leadership is generally examined at the lower levels of the organization and not by the top executives. So in this presentation, I hope to tackle that problem, okay, by educating people about this leadership principle, about some certain leadership principles that I follow and that I would present in front of you so that you can also incorporate those principles in your regular life. Okay, so we do need to incorporate healthy leadership habits early on, since as you can see on the screen, it is an essential skill. Colleges are not exactly teaching us about this, and unfortunately life doesn't come with an instruction manual, right? And that most of us are absolutely confused about how to go about life. So I presume that this talk will actually help you in tackling some of the essential problems that you have in your life, and probably will give you the necessary edge that you need in this world. Okay, in this competitive world, to be precise. So actually, it will also help you in practicing self-regulation. Self-regulation can help you handle any situation without the need of reacting. And when this happens, team operate with the trust, and hence, in the process, also helps the organization to work more effectively. It can truly reduce competition and help enhance the cooperation amongst people. So here is our very own leader, very beloved Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, and let us see what he has to say about leadership. So let me define a leader. He must have vision and passion and not be afraid of any problem. Instead, he should know how to defeat it. Most importantly, he must work with integrity. Now, that is the last word is something I would draw your attention towards. It is integrity. right? So it is the ability to do things when nobody else is watching. It is the capability of a person to do the right thing even when he's not getting any sort of praise, or without any sort of approval or appraisal from his immediate environment. Okay, so let us go back to 200 years ago. Okay, so I'll start off with telling a story. So a man in civilian clothes was riding kind of past a small company of soldiers. He saw that the commanding officer was just giving them orders, and it was just to dig an important defensive position. He asked the commanding officer, like the stranger, I mean, asked the commanding officer about why he wasn't helping his soldiers. He said that, I'm in charge. I'm the only one here to give them orders. And if you feel so strongly about helping them, why don't you go yourself and help them yourself? So the stranger got down his horse and helped the poor soldiers to complete their work. He even congratulated each one of them for the teamwork that they kind of displayed. The commanding officer later got to know that the stranger was none other than General George Washington. In this regard, let us also consider the words of our very beloved like leader, APJ Abdul Kalam. So once again, when he mentions, let us look at this definition. Okay, so he mentions that the person who has a vision, he needs to have a passion, and he should not be afraid of any problem. So technically what I'm trying to say is, when you're not afraid of any problem, you can actually be afraid of a problem, but that doesn't mean that you should not, that should hinder you from taking any course of action, or if you cannot just stop at that. You need to know there are several other ways of doing, like there are several other ways to solve a problem. And as a leader, you should know different ways to tackle a problem. Okay, so by now you must have gotten a clear idea of what a leadership truly is. So leadership is a choice, it's a decision, it's a responsibility. Okay, so according to Simon Sinek, leadership is not about being in charge. It is actually about taking care of the people who are in our charge, okay, or under us. So how is a leader different from that of a manager and boss? So let us look at that in the next slide. So I would like to differentiate between who a leader is and who a boss is. Okay, so a leader is a vulnerable being. So a leader is not afraid of being vulnerable in front of his subjects or in front of his immediate surrounding. He knows what he is capable of. He's don't get me wrong, he is an extremely capable person, but then he is not afraid of being vulnerable in front of his people. Whereas a boss is an entitled rank. Okay, so generally you will always find out that the bosses are generally very straightforward. They will never be very comfortable talking about their weaknesses, talking about their shortcomings in front of their team. Okay, and this is something which kind of hinders the boss from truly connecting with his immediate team or immediate party. A leader is responsible for his people, and a boss is responsible for the outcome. Okay, so leader very well knows that if he takes care of his people will take care of the outcome, and that is an automatic process, whereas the boss is only focused on the outcome. So he's technically looking at the outcome of the situation, and based on that he kind of manipulates his team to get the job done. Leader is never looking for a praise, and the boss is dependent on the approval from higher ups. So as I said, the leader is absolutely not at all looking at the outcome. He's not outcome oriented. Okay, he's more focused on the process. He's more focused on the several components who are contributing towards this process. Okay, and he's definitely not looking for praise. The boss is more dependent on approval from higher ups, and hence he's even his promotion is kind of dependent on whether he's able to do a good job or not. Whereas a leader truly doesn't care much about what he's what the team could do. Rather, what is the dynamic of the what he needs to fix in the team in order to get the job done. And one more important thing that I have come up by myself is something that I would like to share with all of you. A leader knows how to break the cycle. So what do I mean by breaking the cycle? Not breaking any cycle that the institution is having at this point of time, okay, or the institution that he's a part of. He knows how to break the cycle, means like he is, I'm in this regard, I'm talking about a negative cycle. So for example, if somebody, like if it has been always the like the culture of the team to follow the boss, and nobody questions the boss, okay, even though they know that his ethics are not correct, a leader will always be fearless in this regard, and he will always question the ethics that the leader, that his boss, or that the higher ups, or the the organization is kind of enforcing on his like enforcing on their subjects, right? And the boss is mostly fixed on a set course. So a boss generally is not very flexible about the kind of road that they choose in order to get the job done. He generally lays down the plan, and he expects all his people to follow the exact same thing, the exact same path. And this is the exact reason why there is more productivity under a leader than we see, like, than under a boss, right? So now let us see some examples. Okay, so let us at this point of time, I will play some, I'll just let you read this scenario on screen. Okay, so let us have this small exercise. You have to guess who is the leader I'm going to be talking about. So I'll be doing that along with you. So if you can guess the person's name, please leave a comment on the comment window. Okay, so on March 2020, a woman from the highest rank of the government kind of hosted a Facebook Live ahead of the lockdown. Apologizing for their casual dress, she began explaining that she had just put her child to bed and wanted to check in with everyone. Her messages have been clear and consistent, and people have listened. Her country has been one of the very few countries in the world to have appeared to successfully manage the pandemic. So does anybody have any idea of whom I'm talking about? So obviously this goes as a, like, I have already given a hint at the beginning of this statement. I'm talking about a person who is belonging from the highest rank of the government. Can anybody guess which country I'm talking about? Can anyone guess? New Zealand is absolutely right. New Zealand is absolutely right. So can you just also guess the name of the person I'm talking about? I think you can already see half of her forehead on the presentation screen. All right. Prime Minister of New Zealand. So about her style of leadership. So we can actually learn about like how she practices empathy. There is this certain vulnerability and humility about her, and there is this consistency, right? So you cannot fail to notice that there is a certain consistency in her action, right? And it is only because of that, why like New Zealand is kind of like, really effective. Like New Zealand was one of the countries who were really effective at managing the pandemic. So the next case, or the next example, is that during in 2010, a collapse at the San Jose copper gold mine in northern Chile trapped 33 men 700 meters underground. The supervisor the accident and took charge, organizing the men for a long-term survival situation and helping them cope mentally with the situation. He made detailed map of the area with the help of the rescue effort and coordinated closely with engineers on the surface. So any idea who this person is? Can somebody tell me about whom I'm talking about? Of course, I'm talking about the supervisor. Would anybody like to take a guess? All right, so this was actually a hard one, but he is actually Luis Urzua, the foreman in charge of the 33 men. So what can we learn about his style of leadership? So whenever I'm talking about leadership, it is not about a certain set of properties that one needs to display in order to be called a leader. Okay, so from his style of leadership, we can get an idea of his service mindset. So what do I mean by service mindset? It is the tendency of a person to just render his service to people irrespective of what they would do for him. Okay, so something that we also can learn about him is his decisiveness, and the third thing is resilience. So what do I mean by resilience? What do we generally understand about resilience? So one of the most remarkable skills that he has is this resilience that we are talking about, right? Like, so resilience is the ability to cope mentally or emotionally with a crisis, or to return to a pre-crisis state, right? So this is one of the properties that you really need to incorporate in order to become a leader, in order to become the, like, the, like, in order to reach the top, in order to go the distance. Okay, so now the question is, what can you do to be a leader? Okay, so what can you do to be a true leader? So to start being a leader, no, I'm not talking about some degrees from prestigious institutions. I'm not asking you to go to Stanford, register at Harvard for a degree and get a a leadership degree from some very prestigious institutions or something like that. But then I'm not even asking you to get some certificates from some online courses or some MOOC courses. So what I'm actually here to emphasize is leadership is all about taking care of the person next to you. If you're able to look around and if you're able to take care of the person who's right next to you, I think you are capable of being a leader. Okay, you are all person has a sense of purpose, and he or she is capable of taking action. He is good enough to be a leader. He is good enough to lead. He's capable enough to lead. So here are some of the traits that you can follow in order to enhance your leadership skills. Okay, so the first one, and my favorite one, is to practice empathy. So empathy is not about it is not just a small thing that you do in order to gain someone's approval or something like that. It is technically understanding where the other person is coming from. Okay, so a person, for example, you go to your office and you see that another person is being very rude to you. Instead of being extremely rude with the other person and being and exactly reacting to the way he is reacting or she is reacting, understanding where that person is hurting, or what might be the reason why they are hurting, we don't even know, right? They could be grieving the loss of some loved ones. They could be going through some really critical times. We don't even know people. And in this world, okay, people are taught to be more secretive. We don't even have time for our loved ones, let alone the people whom we are working with. So as I said, empathy is understanding where the other person is coming from. Okay, the next thing is practicing resilience. So when I was talking about Louis Zua, something that I wanted to emphasize was his resilient, him being resilient even during the time of such harsh conditions. Okay, so resilience is all about failing. Okay, resilience is all about getting up even if you're failing, right? So for example, if you understand, if you are failing at this point of time, it is that understanding that it is absolutely okay to fail. It is absolutely okay to fail, but it is not okay to give up. A lot of us who are going through tough times kind of tend to give up very soon, even if they are really close to the target, right? And one more thing that Elon Musk kind of teaches us in this regard is, even after his 3 unsuccessful launch, okay, at SpaceX, and even after the initial turmoils were at his startup of Tesla, he just did not give up. He did not give up. He was always humble. He always responded to life, and he did not react. So this is one of those important skills that you can actually practice in your practice in your life in order to become the leader, the true leader that you're aiming to be. The third thing that I would like to emphasize is to just do. Okay, so what do I mean by just doing? So most of the time we kind of get into this mindset where we are only thinking about something, we are only overthinking about some certain things, and we are not never taking the actions, because we are always thinking about what would happen if we took that action, and what if that action doesn't like the outcome is not favorable, right? Or what if the outcome is not as expected? So in this regard, I request you to take action. Okay, so a leader really knows how to act. He is not capable. He's an extremely capable individual, and he's not the kind of a person who will just give up. Okay, at the sight of the initial warning, or at the sight of a possible failure, right? So another thing about a leader is they keep training themselves throughout the process, and they even train the ones who are under them. They are extremely resourceful, as I have already indicated earlier, and that is the exact reason why they always have a way around the problem. Okay, and they know exactly what could be the solution, what could be an alternative solution to a certain problem that his team is, or his or her team is kind of going through. Okay, so the next one is subtract outcome. I cannot emphasize enough on this. Most of us are focused on the outcome. So even when I started off with the quintessential life, I kind of thought about, what if people don't like, I'm not able to help a lot of people. What if people don't find my content very helpful? What if this doesn't go as planned? And there are a lot of what ifs that I kind of thought about. But in this process, I kind of figured out, as we went on forward from one follower to multiple followers, and when I received some real outcomes from some of my students, some of my followers as well, I really realized that the outcome really doesn't matter. Okay, it is the process, and how you're enjoying the process, that is what actually matters in the long run. So if you are giving your all, if you are focusing on the process, if you are giving something valuable to people, if you're doing some certain thing for some certain someone, with the hope, with the happiness, okay, that you are actually rendering some useful service to another soul, okay, that should be more than enough. And we really don't always need to focus on the outcome. Okay, we can only control ourselves. We cannot control the situation. So control comes from, seeking control actually comes from a place of insecurity. Okay, in the army, if you look at a soldier, a soldier kind of protects a fellow soldier not for recognition, but he knows that the fellow soldier would also do the same. So why not practice the same kind of a principle that the armies kind of practice, okay, in our regular life? So why can't we just do something randomly for some certain someone? I'm not asking you to donate all your savings to a certain person because of in order to find them happy, in order to see them happy. But what I'm trying to say is, you can just open, for example, small tasks, like opening, holding the door open, okay, maybe getting someone's helping someone out, making the bus stop for someone, making the holding the elevator door open for some certain person who's already late to their meeting. So these are some very small tasks. You don't have to always look at the outcome, whether this person will be able to help me tomorrow. There is absolutely no chance, or there is absolutely no guarantee that this person will help you in the long run. Okay, but our goal is to always focus on helping the other person right next to us. As I said, a leader is someone who takes care of the people who is under his charge or her charge, right? And the last one that I would always want to emphasize on is to be decisive. Okay, a lot of us are still in that stage where we are not very sure about what we need to do. Okay, whether we need to take some certain decisions, and this is especially true for a lot of my students that I have seen in the last couple of years. So every time I have asked them about doing something, okay, for example, if I've asked them about their future plans, if I've asked them about their careers, if I've asked them about their like what they want to do as soon as they're done with their degrees. Most of them are absolutely indecisive. Most of them don't even know what they need to do. And that is what forces them to follow their friends who are taking some decisions based on their life conditions. Okay, so a true leader would know exactly what they want to do in their life, what gives them happiness. It is not always about the money. So for example, if you're always looking at earning a very high package or earning a very high salary for yourself, you may not end up very happy in the long run. But if you're focusing more on what gives you joy, what gives you happiness, and what truly fulfills your purpose, you'll be able to decide, or you will be able to actually get into a job which truly gives you the utmost satisfaction. And that is what counts in the end. Okay, a leader also knows the importance of taking a decision at the right time. And once again, if Yash and Jeet did not were the people who were always thinking about space science and lack of space science courses in India, then we would not have seen Spartificial, right? So I'm pretty sure they took this decision. They have launched some very good courses from their end, and it is their decision to bring this change in the Indian market. That is why Spartificial is even alive, right? So with that being said, let us, at the last, we will just talk about some challenges. So some of the challenges that you might be facing while experiencing or while going through these processes is that it is a gradual process. Okay, so being a leader is a gradual process. So you cannot be very frustrated tomorrow if you're trying to exercise all the points that we have spoken about, and if you see that there are no results whatsoever. Okay, so it is a gradual process. We were never taught about this in our school. We were not taught to incorporate these small habits in our school. We were taught how to be good boys and good girls. We were never taught to be like good leaders, to be more decisive. We were never taught to just do without any sort of without thinking about the outcome. We were not taught to be resilient. We were not taught to be empathetic towards the other soul. We were always taught to be competitive, right? So this is what I hope to eradicate, okay, from our culture. Okay, and so if you are also a part of this, if you're also a part of this process, okay, give yourself some time. Stop being so critical about yourself. If in case you fail at practicing any one of the above points that I've spoken about, okay, and always remember, a true leader knows consistency is the key. Okay, so with that being said, I end my presentation. If there are any questions whatsoever about the presentation I have just given, please feel free to question me on this. Are there any questions?
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, Bhaskar.
The thing is, you were talking about the outcomes, right? In the outcomes, like we have said, the leader should always think about the person who's next to you. The thing is that, what about in the case of your friends or your loved ones? Like whether the leader is doing the right thing or he's doing the wrong thing. That's my question, sir.
So if I got your questions correctly, you're asking me about whether a true leader should be worried about what their loved one is supposed to do, what their friend is supposed to do, right?
Yeah, sir. And the thing is that, like you said, no, for example, he's going to the elevator, but actually if the process and the outcomes has to be perfect, the person who's coming punctually and he's doing the work, whatever has to be done at that particular time, he's doing perfectly. The outcome is going to be very perfect. But in this case, I'm asking you that if the person who, like your friend or the colleague or whatever it is, the person is coming late and is doing some stuff which is not proper for the outcomes. So in that situation, the leader is taking some decisions, right? Whether the decision has to be the same thing, whatever he's doing with the normal person, or it has to be different. Like how should they handle this actually?
That's a good question. That is truly a good question. So as I said, Bhaskar, that a leader is supposed to be completely, he's not supposed to focus on the outcome, right? So when he does that, he's also letting go of the control, right? So try to understand this. We cannot control how the other person acts. Okay, we can only control how we are acting towards another person. Okay, it is all about self control. I have already emphasized the fact that leadership is about self control, right? So it is all about how you are presenting yourself in front of the world, right?
Yes.
Most often we are the problem. Most often we
Yeah.
don't even notice what we are doing to the other person. We think that is absolutely acceptable
Yeah.
without even understanding like what they might be going through. So that is one of the other thing that you need to understand is what are we doing to that person, and that will only be possible if you practice empathy. And second
Yes.
thing is we cannot control the other person. Okay,
Mm.
so any sort of seeking any sort of control comes from a position of insecurity. Okay, and it is truly not a very desirable trait. And I know that it will not it will not be possible for you to immediately incorporate all these ideas within a day or two. But then if you start practicing every day, a little every day, I'm pretty sure by the end of at least a couple of months, I'm pretty sure you'll be completely irrespective of completely undisturbed by how another person treats you. So I hope I was able to answer your question, Bhaskar.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Any other questions? Any other questions? All right. So, yeah. Once again, thank you so much for this opportunity. So, thank you once again. I would like to thank Team Spartificial for presenting me with this opportunity to speak and engage with some young listeners. And
Excuse me, sir.
yeah,
So sorry
and
to interrupt you, sir. A person has asked a question in the chat box. I didn't see you didn't look into it. So I'll be asking the question whatever he has asked me.
sure, sure.
How can we influence people to lead them towards a goal?
Yeah.
By Shubham.
So how can we influence people? So we can lead by example. So this is my short and crisp answer to this question that Shubham has kind of posted on the comment window. So how can we actually influence people? So if we are, as I said in the first story that I started off with, so if you remember that the commanding officer was not actually taking part in digging the trench or digging the defensive position that his already tired soldiers were doing. So when the general kind of saw that the soldiers already struggling to dig a trench, he got down his horse, he kind of helped despite being the general of that army. Okay, so I'm talking about George Washington. You can actually read about this story online. Okay, so it is a beautiful story that shows exactly what a leader should actually be doing. So he should be doing, as I said, the main aspect of a leader is to do. It's not to like expect something. He's not an entitled soul. He doesn't automatically expect the respect to be paid towards him. He earns his respect and he gives his respect equally. So I hope I was able to answer Shubham. Any other questions? Done this. Okay, so this is a completely different question. So can I do MTech in aerospace after BTech in CSE after having done the syllabus for AE along with BTech? Sameep, you can absolutely do that. Okay, there are several branches of MTech. Okay, you can actually certainly take up avionics. You can certainly take up like some of the institutions even offer very diverse set of curriculums. Okay, you can take up any one of them, which are kind of all a part of this aerospace, like the aerospace engineering. Okay, and you can certainly do that since if you're but I would rather suggest that you kind of practice your aerospace subjects as well. Okay, so since you are from a CSE background and you are stating that you have already done something with aerospace as well. Okay, so I would presume that you know a little bit, but it is always a good practice if you can keep practicing some of the subjects, some of the essential subjects like aerodynamics, some structures, a little bit of control theory and stuff like that, and certainly mathematics and physics as well. Okay, if you can practice a little bit of them, I think that will be extremely beneficial for your MTech, and you will not be feeling like a fish out of the pond. Okay, once you join your MTech program. Any other questions? Sure, Sangeet. Happy to help.
Okay, so I think there's no questions now. So thank you so much, sir, for joining us. And
It's a
your
pleasure.
insights were great. Really, thank you. And thank you to all the participants for joining. And we'll be ending the session now.
Thank you so much, Manati.
Yes.
And it was truly a pleasure being a part of this talk. And I apologize for being late for the meeting. There were some glitches. And thank you so much for being so patient and for listening and for being a part of this entire talk throughout. So with that being said, let us end the meeting.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.